Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is based on the Judy Blume novel. This movie, it's written and directed by Kelly Freeman Craig, and it stars Abby Ryder Fortson as Margaret. She stars as Margaret. You also have Rachel McAdams, Kathy Bates, Benny Safdie is in this movie. It tells a story of Margaret, who moves to a new town, is trying to find her way, find her friends in I believe this is the 70s, and she's navigating all sorts of different relationships and things like that. And through all of that, she's also trying to discover herself. She has a Jewish father, a Christian mother, and her parents have kind of left religion up to her. When she's ready to figure out what she wants to believe in, she can figure it out. And throughout the movie, she starts to pray, and she always starts every prayer, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret." And it I gotta say, I really love this movie. I really love the premise. I really love kind of how it went about it. It's a great kind of coming of age, self discovery uh, story mixed in with a lot of just adolescent stuff too. And it might help that I deal with this age on a daily basis. I could relate to the characters because I see kids in this stage all the time. Um, and on some level, this is the other thing I thought of. On some level, this felt like it was like a female version of The Sandlot. We talked about The Sandlot just a couple weeks ago, but I mean, if you think about The Sandlot, Smalls, he moves to a new town. He's trying to find his way, find his group of friends. And for boys, that meant they played baseball all summer. For girls, it means that they, talk about boys and form secret societies and talk about bras and when they're going to get their period. I mean, it felt very much like the camaraderie you got out of Sandlot is the same kind of thing you get out of this. So you have the family drama and the self-discovery part of it on top of this great camaraderie that they build among the friends in this that felt very much like a female version of the Sandlot. It's a weird. I feel like it's a weird comparison, but I think it really actually works. 3.5 stars. I thought this movie was brilliant. It's almost a 4-star movie for me, actually. I loved so much of this, and there's a reason why the story is beloved, and it has been loved for so many years. And everyone I've talked to that's read the book, their one comment about this movie before they saw it was, "I just hope they don't screw it up." And I don't think they did. I think they did. They did it justice. I've never read the book, but I feel like they really did a good job telling the story and making it really come to life. Abby Ryder Fortson is outstanding in this movie too. She gives an amazing performance here. All right, Todd, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm not familiar with the book either, but I can see why it's such a like a pivotal text. Like, I think if this is sort of the perfect coming of age movie, you really know these characters, especially like the grandmother played by Kathy Bates. Like, she absolutely rings true. Like when they take when they're like pulling up her like comically large suitcase, like the look that she has on her face after they get up to the top of the stairs, I was like, oh, I know that look. Like I know so many like older people that have that look. Like all the characters are treated with that level of detail, and especially Margaret's classmates as well. Like I mean, obviously I'm not a child, like, but I could relate to the mother character in this a little bit more too, the Rachel McAdams character, and which is cool because I don't even have children. But she like the way that she plays the role and the predicaments make me really feel for her. Like I remember when I was a kid and putting my parents through similar things. Like her reactions are perfect, and she is like I could not imagine a better actress for that role. And I kind of looked at this movie as eighth grade played as a drama. Like I think it's more Diary of a Teenage Girl than it is The Edge of 17, and it really makes those uncomfortable, awkward situations, and it like and does it better than most. And Nancy, the friend character, I think is the best character in the movie. She's fascinating.
Mm.
I knew people just like that when I was growing up, and she has this aura where she is the most confident character, but she's also still like an insecure kid. Like McAdams, I think played those type of characters when she was younger, and she no doubt had an influence on that character. But she's sort of the leader of that group of friends, but she's also still like boy crazy. And I think the movie became great to me in the authenticity of her period scene, because that was like she's like dressed like a little girl. She's in this like almost like pink princess outfit, and then it happens, and then everything changed, and you could see it all in her eyes. Like she wasn't who she was before. She's like afraid, she's ashamed, she kind of looks and feels ridiculous. And you see it all in her eyes. I think she gives a great performance, and like she really captured the strangeness and just the, or I mean, it treats it with a lot of sincerity, like the awkwardness of puberty. And I think the movie's real. It's kind of uplifting, but it certainly isn't happy. But I love the movie. I'm glad it wasn't a TV show, because I could see this easily have been like a extended into that form. But I think it's perfectly contained in its package that it is now, and it's 3.5 stars for sure.
All right, Zach, are we thrice approved?
Yes, we are definitely thrice approved.
Yeah.
I would just like to note that I was the one that pushed us to see this movie, so you're welcome.
Yes, you were.
And yeah, although it's kind of ironic, I think I'm a little less enthusiastic about it than either of you. I'm going to go with 3 stars for now, although maybe if it goes on HBO Max and I find myself rewatching it on a Friday night several times, I might change my opinion a little bit later.
I will say this feels very rewatchable.
It does feel very rewatchable. It's like a you know, it's like all right. You know, you walk into it, it's calm, it's like happy, it's not like overly serious. There's no like extreme intense scenes in it. It's the perfect kind of movie that Slater would like, or like that Martha Washington would make a big bong for her husband and they would go home and watch it together and just like chill, you know? Anyway, I
don't agree with that at all. I don't think this movie's happy at all. This is a
really. I think it's
a very sad. It's like I said, it's 8th grade as a drama. It's just not a comedy.
It's not as cringy as 8th grade. I think it's very serene. It's very mellow. There's no bad character in the movie. I mean, they kind of set up a little bit Rachel McAdams' parents being antagonistic characters, but even they really aren't as the movie goes along. Mm-hmm. Nancy's maybe a little bit of antagonistic character, but not really. I mean, everybody's pretty friendly. What I think is fascinating about the movie, I don't know where you guys saw it. I saw it in a theater with 0 kids. Okay, this is not a movie that, sadly, it's not a movie that appeals to this generation anymore. I think it was wise of the filmmakers to set it in the 70s, because the only value they're going to get out of this story anymore with audiences is the nostalgia factor. And we're probably the youngest generation that would even go see this movie. Okay, this is probably a movie that is more for people in their 40s or 50s, and the filmmaker really respects that. And even in the way that it's filmed and the way that the narrative is structured, feels very much like an old style type movie. There's no ironic cutaways or sides or quick flashbacks or anything, narratively, it's very standard, it's very straightforward, and it's very classical. That's what we call good movies that use simple narratives when they're well done. It's classically constructed, right? You learn quite a bit about the characters, but not, again, through complex backstories. You learn about it through dialogue and through situations. I really loved Rachel McAdams in this movie. She, to me, was the MVP. The Abby Ryder Fortson is also great in it too, but I like that the movie spent a little bit of time on Rachel McAdams. It didn't turn her into this kind of obligatory mom character whose whole life is just being a perfect mom, but also a woman who's maybe facing a bit of a crisis of her own, more than she wants to admit, about what this new life for her represents. And I loved one half the duo of Uncut Gems, Benny Safdie, being in this movie. We need more Benny Safdie in all movies. I guess if I have a reservation, I would say most of the movie I was at the 3.5 star mark. I guess I don't oftentimes criticize a movie I usually critique a movie for what it is. This time my critique is a little bit for what it's not. I wish the movie had been a little bit more, especially at the end, pointed at the way that in our society today, books like this are being banned, okay, by bullshit politicians, and women's bodies are being held hostage by these same bullshit politicians, okay? Now, granted, this is not a movie that was made by Spike Lee, as Terry likes to accuse me of, and maybe in this case, it would have been made by Rose McGowan, okay? This movie doesn't have a political agenda, but I wish it had leaned in a little bit more to that. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is one of the most banned books of all time. Okay, when it came out, it caused an uproar among the conservative bullshit community that said that young women shouldn't find out about their bodies. This is something that they should only learn about through the church or through, whatever. We shouldn't talk about these things. Well, I think the movie had a bit of an obligation to say, screw you, and that young women should have control and autonomy over their bodies, and this is not a story that should be banned. Now, of course, that is up to the filmmaker, right? And this is a very good filmmaker, very competently made. It's her choice.
You hated her other movie. How can you say she's a good filmmaker?
I've
listen. You gave it 1.5 stars. That was her only other movie.
That was a little harsh. I remember more good things about that movie than bad things. What I liked about Edge of 17 was I liked Haley Steinfeld and Woody Harrelson. I thought that was a great dynamic. I don't know if we were doing our podcast when that movie came out, but if we were, I would have said, had the movie just been a 25-minute YouTube mashup of their scenes, it would have been a great movie. I think this movie is like that. It has really great chemistry and great dialogue between the characters. My only critique is I just wish it had been a little bit more forceful in its political agenda. But other than that, and that's a very common Zach criticism.
Yeah, that's a funnier review than the movie is funny. So that's
exactly. But it is a good movie, and everybody should see it. I agree with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this movie had. I mean, all right, yes, this book may have been a book that has been banned, but I don't think this movie is a movie that has, or this book has a political agenda. It just is, and I think when you have the story narrated and told through Margaret's eyes, you're never going to have an opportunity for that unless you do the Spike Lee cutaway montage to end the movie.
Yes, I wanted that. Let's Roe v. Wade getting overturned. Let's do it. Let's get the Spike Lee montage at the end of the movie. I would have been in favor of that, and of course, the director would have fired me had I said that. So
exactly.
And you guys
that's
fire
not
me for saying that.
But
that's what I would.
The point of this movie, I think, what it wanted to do with this was make it as universally appealing as possible. And I think they did that, and make it just about the kids and make it as innocent as possible while still being real. And I think that's what they were able to accomplish with this, and I thought they did a wonderful job with it. The audience. So yeah, I was by far the youngest person in the room too. I could tell everyone else that was in there were women who grew up with this book and men who were dragged there by their women. That was the extent of the audience. I had one lady that was probably like 60, 65 that laughed every 10 seconds, regardless of whether something was funny or not. It was just like every 10 seconds I was like, in the middle of everything. And it was, everyone else started laughing at her, not at the movie. But, yeah. And she was in front of everybody else. Like, she was the furthest forward of everyone else. So she was just laughing and we could all sit behind her and laugh at her. It was kind of entertaining. But
yeah, when I saw it, it was pretty full, and I was probably one of two males in there. The other one was like a 70-plus-year-old man who was there with his wife, but the rest of the crowd was women, and they all ages though. Like, I was not the youngest person there, but there was majority of the people were at least twice my age.
My wife is slightly jealous because I've seen this movie and she hasn't yet, because she lived with this book as a kid.